Many thanks for joining us. We begin tonight at the Federal Capital Territory, where former Secretary of State Governor Aminu Tambuwal is in the custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) over alleged fraudulent cash withdrawals totaling 189 billion naira. The withdrawals are said to contravene the Money Laundering Under Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. Tambuwal reportedly arrived at the EFCC headquarters in Abuja in the early hours of Monday, where he is being interrogated by investigators. Sources say the former governor is facing questions over suspicious transactions during his tenure involving alleged fraudulent withdrawals of public funds. Tambuwal, a former Speaker of the House of Representatives, served as governor from 2015 to 2023. Nigeria's economy is said to have experienced significant fluctuations over the last decades, influenced by factors such as oil price volatility, currency instability, and inflation. The country's GDP growth rate has averaged 2.3% annually, with a growth rate of 3.13% in the first quarter of 2025. Inflation has been a persistent challenge, averaging 16.3% over the decade, with a current projection to steady at 25% in 2025 and decrease to 14% by 2029. Now, the services sector has driven growth, accounting for a significant portion of the GDP. Manufacturing has also contributed, with growth in industrial production. Agriculture accounts for 22.7% of the GDP, while the oil sector contributed 3.95% to the real GDP in the first quarter of 2025. Trump's 15% tariff levy on Nigerian exports adds another layer of complexity to the economic landscape. According to a recent report by a foreign media platform, Nigeria's economy under President Bola Tinubu is in its best form in a decade. While this statement may be subjective, analysts say it is crucial to acknowledge the persistent challenges that the country currently faces. Joining me now are two economists, Dr. Nnemeka Obiariri and Femi Onakore. They join me now to examine the economic indicators that support or contradict the claim about Nigeria's economy, bearing in mind the 15% tariff by United States. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I will start with Dr. Obiariri. How do you think the average Nigerian has been affected by the recent economic reforms implemented by President Tinubu?
The eco-disco has struck, and this is the heart of Lagos. Banana Island, Ikoyi, I'm in darkness. And I'm supposed to be in Band A with 22 hours power supply. But here I in darkness in a supposed 2025 in a hybrid area like Banana Island, Ikoyi, Lagos. So I want to submit here, if the report is saying over the last decade, of course, from August 2015 till now, Nigeria has been on downward spiral under Buhari. And of course, there is no disputing that President Buhari inherited a very battered economy, an economy that will practically come at toast. And there is also no doubt that the policies and programs that they rolled out, the margin of the criminal multiple exchange rate market regime and the removal of fuel subsidy was a step in the right direction. It was a policy that was not backed up with tangible and underlying concrete actions that will have mitigated the negative effect that we are seeing today. We were envisaging that by removal of subsidy, we will save at least net of over $9 to $18 billion, which will serve to build the critical sectors of the economy. But as I talk to you today, not only are those monies nowhere to be found, we are heavily indebted over the last 2 years. So I don't know the indicators that made anybody to say that Nigeria has rebounded. Nigeria is not, we are anywhere near rebounding. Basically what we are experiencing is the aftershock of good policies that were poorly executed without triggering the underlying factors that will have made it to, go well. What are the indicators? If you look at the human development indicators, you will see clearly that there's no way any same person will tell you that we are rebounding. As at 2000, 2014, per capita GDP of Nigeria, the average per capita of was about $2,500. By the time Tinubu took over power in May 2023, it was at about $1,200. Today is less than $1,000. Look at the level of poor people in Nigeria. The number has gone up to almost about 125, 133 million. Unemployment is on the rise. Insecurity has not abated. It's even worse. In 2024 alone, based on reports by the NBS, over 2.2 million Nigerians were kidnapped, 2.2 trillion naira paid as ransom, 640,000 Nigerians murdered. Never in the history of this country have we experienced this kind of carnage. So I do not understand the underlying HGI parameter that anybody will use and say that Nigeria is at the strongest point over the last 10 decades.
All right, Mr. Onakore, I'll come to you now and just echo the question that a lot of persons have been asking. The federal government is promoting this report that says Nigeria's economy under President Tinubu is in the best condition it has ever been in a decade. Do you align with Dr. Obiareri's submission, or you align more with the federal government's optimism that this is indeed a truism?
If we're going statistically, the 3.4% recorded as GDP growth, right, in the previous position is actually the second since the 3.65% GDP growth recorded in 2021. And, you know, that was coming off a rebound after the COVID tension years, the recession years from 2016 that, you know, we had a huge contraction in our GDP growth positions. So I believe that, okay, as we hear now, what are the things that you should look at as an economist to back up whatever claims the outcomes are saying? And one of the things you need to understand is even at the point that we had a 3.65% growth in GDP, we were still suffering from a lot of burdens from FX manipulations and subsidy burdens across different sectors, you know, oil and gas, electricity, and all. So if we discount those from the figure of the growth, we will see that the current position expressed by the available data is that Nigeria is actually in a stronger position than it's been in a while. It's not supposed to be a comparison of administrations, because each administration faced different challenges, and in making a very holistic and honest assessment of the situation, one is to factor in those particular challenges that each one is going through at each point in time. Regarding the economic growth, the foundation that's been laid, we have at this point a very, very stable economy, you know, as it were, and that's the foundation. We talk about attracting foreign investment. That's one of the first things that a foreign investor is going to talk about. That's what is unstable in terms of investment portfolio. He wants to know how stable the economy, the macroeconomic indices are, and you know, the drive and support of the government and policies available for him to, you know, do business and make a good return on his money. So I think that as it were right now, we are properly position for economic growth. I wouldn't say that we are entirely out of the woods, but all economic indicators are pointing that there's an upswing in our profile, as it were. Oil production, which is one of the biggest mainstay of our revenue collection, is actually improved. OPEC commended Nigeria by, you know, meeting its targets and all. And this is the second time in 2025 that has happened. And, you know, if you look across board, and we're trying to be honest with the data available, we'll say that, yes, Nigeria is on a very, very good trajectory, as it were. Can it be sustained? Can it be built? And those are different conversations that we can have. But we cannot deny the fact that we have made remarkable progress, especially with some of the local and international challenges within the time frame.
Okay, Dr. Berry, I think I'm going to stay with that and just ask, we've made remarkable progress. That's what Mr. Onakore is saying, but you don't seem to share that sentiment. Would you say that, I mean, this report, alleged report of, you know, the best economy we've had in a decade, is it just branding, or this is just the reality?
Let's look at the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are very clear. When you measure growth and development and economy, beside the statistics that can be manipulated, you look at the real impact in the rail sector of the economy. I reeled out statistics from NBS. I didn't manufacture it. For any investor to go into a country, there are things that they look out for. They look out, one thing, for security. Insecurity in Nigeria had never been at the atrocious level that it is today. Nigeria is more insecure today than it was in 2021, and we know this to be true.
I might not get all the technicalities that are involved, but is it that what the analysis is about is the actual data about what the where the economy is at the moment? I know there are a lot of indices around that.
Yes.
Is your data
over
different?
The last 10 years, over the last 10 years, we are not comparing between 2025 and 2021. We are looking at data between 2025 to 2015 to 2025.
Okay.
We are looking at data between 2015 to 2025. We are not looking at data between 2021 to 2025. It says, looking at the indices in the last 10 years, the report says that Nigeria economy has never been at a better position than it is today since over the last 10 years. It's not factual. The numbers does not speak to this submission, and that is what we are trying to put across here.
Okay.
Looking at all the indicators, poverty level of Nigerians in 2015 till now, what have been the trajectory? Access to education, what have been the trajectory?
Right,
what are the healthcare facilities?
Doctor, in the interest of time, so let's just bring in another aspect of this conversation, and that's, again, the tariff, the 15% tariff that's been levied on Nigerian export. What will be the impact in shaping Nigeria's economic future, and how can we, as a country, mitigate that impact? Because the picture you're painting is a bit scary.
Okay, you ask what will be the impact. It will, of course, add to the cost of Nigerian exports, which is already outrageous. And I'll give you an example. Today, the cost of fund in the market is averaging 31 to 35%. MPR is 27.5%, and that is the risk-free rate of borrowing. The average manufacturer in Nigeria, first of all, has the cost of fund to tackle with 30% across board. We are looking at the inflation numbers, 24% is part of the cost of production, part of the cost of doing business. Then add 15%, this tariff, and other costs associated with doing business in Nigeria. You will see clearly that will not be as much competitive as our peers in other clients. Take an example.
Again, I'm sorry, I have to interject again. We're out of time, but I'd like Mr. Onakaran to also speak on that. How can we get out of it? In a minute, if you can.
Okay, so sorry, I'll quickly try to go through this. Regarding the tariffs, I think that the position, we need to really look at things as economists, right, and not about sentiments. So regarding the tariffs, the key position we're looking at, what are our primary export positions to the U.S. I mean, it's we're not a manufacturing export company, so some of those things do not, some of the things previously outlined do not apply to us. We look at what are the strong points, where are we exporting from. Now, this tariffs naturally means that, revenues become less, but if it promotes bilateral trade, right, we can actually negotiate diplomatically for better economic positions, right, some kind of benefits to our exporters as our growth increases, and actually benefit from the symbiosis that comes from the situation. It is not everything that is threatening, when you have a situation that develops. And I would like to point out that my analysis was based on 2015 to 2025. 2021 was an exception in terms of economic GDP percentage growth, and that was the only one that was more than the 3.4 that was captured. But that beside the point, it's important that we focus on the opportunities rather than be belligerent about whatever challenges there are. America has the right for tariffs. We can also impose cross tariffs, and at the same time, we can leverage on the opportunity to see what other, concessions we can gain from bilateral trade agreements.
It's quite curious that two economists have two different views with using the same data. I wish we had more time, but that's all we can do for now. Thank you for speaking with us, Dr. Obiariri and Mr. Onakore.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Coming up tonight, days after Kwam 1 incident, Female passenger remanded in prison over assault on air hostess. We'll bring you this story and more after this break. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. EFCC arrests former Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal over alleged unauthorized cash withdrawals. Fresh attack in Yelwata community in Benue State leaves 3 people dead and others injured. And there's global outrage growing as funeral holds for 5 Al Jazeera journalists killed by Israel in targeted attack on Gaza. Now, Comfort Emerson, the passenger accused of assaulting airline officials aboard an Ibom air flight from Uyo to Lagos, has been charged to court and remanded in Kirikiri Correctional Center in Lagos. Tunde Moshood, Special Advisor on Media and Communications to the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, confirmed the development on Monday. His statement comes amid warnings by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority that stricter enforcement actions will be taken against passengers engaging in disruptive conduct, which has been on the rise in Nigerian airports. Meanwhile, the Airline Operators of Nigeria has imposed a no-fly live ban on the passenger. AON spokesperson Professor Obiora Okonkwo said on Monday that the decision followed a review of Ibom Air's detailed report on the incident. Fresh attack by suspected herdsmen in the Yelwata area of Benue State has left 3 people dead and 3 others critically injured while working on their farms. The early morning assaults sparked immediate outrage, with women in the community protesting what they describe as the military's failure to respond promptly, forcing the police and local youths to mobilize and repel the attackers. Matthew Miam, former government official, confirmed the incident and the ongoing protest. He revealed that attempts to persuade the women to clear the federal highway connecting Benue and Nasarawa states were rejected as they demand that soldiers leave their communities for alleged negligence. We turn now to a security analyst, Dr. Aminu Yahatu, a senior lecturer in the Department of Political Science, Bayero University. Thank you for being here. It's Yelwata again, and this time the locals say they've had enough, not only of the attacks, but also of the soldiers whom they accuse of sitting on their arms and watching them get killed. What could be wrong here?
Okay, again, thank you for having me. And I think if you recall, the last time we had an interview on this issue of Yelwata attack, I specifically mentioned to you when you told me that the president has ordered the chief of army staff to relocate to Benue State. And I said that was just a kind of wishy-washy arrangement and eye service that is not going to last. And I told you that historically we've seen this kind of instructions given to chief of army staff to relocate. But in the end, when the issue is over and life has returned to normalcy, the soldiers will disappear. Yelwata, has shown signals that these attacks are not over, because majority of the people in those communities have relocated to the internally displaced persons camps. And, those who had, remained in the villages had remained in order to continue with some of the activities that they could do, near the major road. But the attackers have not actually retreated in the real sense. And the security officials of Nigeria knew too well that this kind of attacks have happened and have reoccurred, shortly after, normalcy was restored in some of these communities that experienced these attacks. It is very unfortunate that the security outfit in Nigeria is not reliable. Benue, there are conflict zones that have red flags. Benue Plateau, some parts of Kaduna, and then in the northwest, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and all of that have already shown that they have become volatile. And the attention of the security agents is supposed to be concentrated in these areas, while of course they pay attention to other, signaling areas. But it's unfortunate that just, just barely a month after the attack, we are experiencing, 2 months, we're experiencing,
you're quite correct in that. Yeah, you're quite correct in that. Just less than 2 months ago, the president was there, and a lot was promised. The chief of defense staff did say that, in part, that locals fed wrong intelligence to the military. How come the gaps that were noticed, the promises that were made, have not been addressed? What are we missing?
If you are a Nigerian, you will bear witness that these kinds of empty promises have always been made and they have never been kept. Promises of investigations, promises of arrests, promises of prosecutions, failure to, take responsibility for the failure of security. You remember the Nigerian state. Nigeria is a signatory to the international human rights law and the international humanitarian law, which demands that and which takes Nigeria to have responsibility for the protection of people within its territory. But that obligation, has actually been a dashed hope for Nigerians because the Nigerian state has not been able to protect civilians, within these territories. Anytime attackers want to attack, they do attack, and they kill when they want to kill. You hardly see a situation whereby even attacks are being foiled. This is simply because, the security architect in Nigeria is one that is not such coordinated in a way that even these attacks will be detected. Once attacks have happened, all the attention from the presidency to the security outfits to all political shows will happen in the state. Promises will be made, but they have never been fulfilled. And this is an evidence to know that, the security architecture of Nigeria is not ready.
Okay, but these women asking soldiers to leave their communities, is that the way to go? To look at it again, somebody did predict that there will be an attack in August at New Centre's town hall, recently held in Benue in July, just a few weeks ago. How come intelligence cannot be garnered from such gatherings to help, address the situation? But importantly, is the action of these women the best course of action at this time?
No, but you must look at it from the angle of the people and the women. These protesters, they have a meaning to their protest. What they are ultimately saying is that the presence of the security agents of the Nigerian army there is of no use to them. So they would rather have the Nigerian army, leave their communities so that they can know that they are truly vulnerable. And this is a simple message. What else do you expect them to do? They are not going to, engage in killings or fight with anybody. What they can do is to come to the streets and protest so that they send this message. And it is because of they understand that there is a lack of political will in the whole thing. It's not that the Nigerian army does not have the intelligence, to detect, some of these, even the plans on the attacks and, the activities involved that leading to the attacks. But because of the lack of political will, which entails, this lack of ability to be proactive whenever something is about to happen. The usual way that the Nigerian security operate is that they always react. They respond to problems when they have already happened. Too many people have been killed in this country, out of these kinds of attacks. And it is still happening. And there doesn't seem to be any sign that it will be tackled because of, the violence of the attacks.
There is an agreement among your peers that at the heart of our problem is the strength of leadership, the will, like you've said, to do what is needed. We'll continue to hope, and hopefully you speak up and the government will listen. Thank you, as always, for being here. Thank you for staying with us. After several hours of tension and protest, normalcy was finally restored to the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, on Monday, following the intervention of the Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Yusuf Sununu. The disruption was caused by protests by some blind and visually impaired persons over the closure of Farmcraft Center for the Blind in Lagos. News Center's Sarah Ayeku has details.
They are gathered to vent their frustration. Chants of solidarity songs rent in the air at the airport access road. This wasn't the usual crowd you would expect. These were blind and visually impaired people, causing massive traffic jams on roads leading to the airport. At about 10:40 a.m., the protesters blocked the entrance of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. Their demand was the reopening of the Farmcraft Center for the Blind in Isolo, Lagos. The center, which is the only federal government school for the blind in Nigeria, was shut down without notice on the 6th of June 2024. For many students, the closure came as a shock. Some were already traveling back to resume their second semester when they learned the gates had been locked.
Person with disability, we are hungry. We are dying. We will finish this school, no work, no job, no empowerment. We learn a lot of skills in school. No money to set up what we learn. We are begging the government. We are human beings. We are human beings. Blindness is not a clear disease. Blindness is not a death sentence. Even something that was removed is affecting us big time. Because the blind person want to move, even an assistant. Even an assistant to move. So you can imagine a blind person paying double for transport.
I am a mother to a boy of 14-year-old, a special child of cerebral palsy. When President Tinubu came into power, he told us that anything we desire, even people living with disabilities, they will get better education, they will get a fair standard of life. But 2 years down his office, persons living with special needs have not been catered to.
After a few hours, security agencies, including the Nigeria Police, Army, Civil Defense and Airport Security, tried to get them off the roads, but no word or interaction could calm the tension.
As we are buying diapers for my boy of 14 years old, we have been begging, we have been clamoring, we have been pleading, but their silence is deafening, mommy.
At about 3:50 p.m., representatives of the group and the Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs went into a closed-door meeting that lasted about 40 minutes. The ministry says upgrades will begin as soon as funds are available, promising a reopening within months.
And we have mentioned to them that really a lot of issues that has to do with the support of the ministry. We look at the situation of the school and being actually people with special needs, there is need for us to put some structures optimal so that they can have their happy stay there. And because of we are waiting for fund release, the school has to be temporarily suspended so that they are decent.
For the blind community, that could mean not just a return to class, but a renewed lifeline for rehabilitation. The protesters have since cleared the airport entrance, with traffic now flowing freely. In Lagos for News Central, Sarah Ayeku.
Sarah joins me now in the studio for better understanding of what played out today. Thank you very much for being here. The minister says very soon in that report. But was there a specific timeline given? This school has been closed since June of last year.
Yeah, so no specific timeline was given because we had asked the question, if you came all the way from Abuja to have this meeting with these persons, one would expect that you have something really concrete to tell them after long hours of, holding the airport to ransom. And for people that had flights to catch, it was really difficult for them because they had to walk meters away from the airport and into the airport and out of the airport as well. So if you came all the way from Abuja just to, interact with the representatives of Farmcraft Center for the Blind, one would have expected that you had something really concrete. But all he had to tell them was, until funds are available. And that's when they can... There's no time frame.
Was that enough for them? Because one of the reasons that I heard in your report was that the school, there were infrastructure deficits that needed to be revamped. Was that enough for the persons who protested without a time frame of when they would go back to school to end their
surprisingly, because this was a closed-door meeting, so surprisingly, they came out smiling. They were happy that the conversation they could... I think what really made them really happy was the fact that the Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs came from Abuja to speak with them. So they feel that they have been heard, their voices have been heard, and for you to have that kind of delegation come to speak with them, they feel that something will be done very soon. And of course, the minister has also talked about how they should key into some of the programs of that's the renewal programs.
Programs? Was he specific?
For instance, they should join the National Social Register, ensure that their members are part of that register. They should also key into some loans and grants that are specific to vulnerable people and, of course, persons with special needs. So it kind of like seems kind of ambiguous, really, because having them register in these programs can be, a long process,
From your professional look of things, was this a let's appease them for now or deal with any further problems that come, or there was a genuine expression that something will be done? I mean, no funds has been released for 2025 yet, and we're not even, we're still
running the 2024. For me, I would say that this is a story we're going to follow up on, really, because having the minister give his word, we have to see it through. We had asked the question, is there a timeline?
Well, you can't really hold him, can you? Because
is there
he didn't give a timeline.
He has said until funds are available. So we're hoping, really, because the pain really is for the parents and for the people who are enrolled in the school. So for a year, they have not been able to access education or go to this facility to access any form of education, either vocational, training, so that they can actually, because if you see them, the mother that spoke on TV, right, talking about how she's able, she can't access education for a 14-year-old child. It's difficult for her to even get a child into a normal school, and getting them to school in the first place is expensive. Getting the learning aids they need is expensive. So having a school specially for them, is what they need. And then having one of those schools, which is a federal government school, they say it's the only federal government school that is for the blind.
At least they got the minister to come talk to them. Let's look for the positive out of this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for the coverage. Outside our shores, funerals were held on Monday for the Al Jazeera journalists who were among several people killed in an Israeli strike on Sunday. The Israeli military says it targeted 28-year-old correspondent Anas al-Sharif, alleging he had served as the head of a terrorist cell in Hamas without providing evidence to support the claim. Sources say Sharif worked for a Hamas media team in Gaza before the current conflict, but he had also become critical of Hamas shortly before he was killed. Al Jazeera described Sharif's killing a targeted assassination aimed at attacking press freedom. We're on a short break. When we come back, we have business, sports, and entertainment. Stay with us. And over now to Perpetua for business update. Hello, Perpetua.
Hi, good evening. And now to the stories. The Kano State Investment Promotion Agency, CanInvest, is challenging a National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) report, claiming the state attracted only $120,000 in foreign capital inflows in the first quarter of 2025. The NBS listed just 7 states with notable foreign investments, led by Lagos and Abuja, while placing Kano among 30 states with negligible inflows. CanInvest Director General Muhammad Haliru insisted Kano secured over $22 million in foreign direct investment during the period, mainly for renewable energy projects in compressed natural gas and liquefied natural gas. He criticized NBS for not consulting the state, calling the figures a significant discrepancy. Haliru said Kano will soon launch a multi-sectoral investment strategic plan targeting $10 billion in investments over the next 5 years. The World Bank has approved $300 million for the Solutions for the Internally Displaced and Host Communities project, SOLID, targeting over 3.5 million people uprooted by conflict in northern Nigeria. This initiative is meant to improve essential services, infrastructure, and livelihoods in heavily affected local government areas. Task team leaders Fuad Malkawi and Christopher Johnson stressed the project's focus on bridging infrastructure gaps and easing pressure on host communities. Building on the earlier Multi-Sectoral Crisis Recovery Project, SOLID shifts from short-term humanitarian aid to long-term development, aiming to deliver sustainable economic opportunities for both displaced populations and their hosts. To the stock markets now, the all-share index closed with a modest gain, but the real action was in insurance stocks, where a buying frenzy easily outweighed weakness in industrials and oil and gas. Month-to-date and year-to-date returns now stand at 4.3% and 41.7% respectively. Let's dive into the day's snapshots, begin with, of course, the all-share index. It's up 13 basis points, 145,948.47, nearer the 146,000 mark. Let's see if that's going to be achieved tomorrow. Market capitalization still maintaining the 92 trillion naira mark, but this time 92.34 trillion naira. So sectoral performance now. Investor appetite for insurance stocks remains strong, while industrial and oil and gas names faced selling pressure. Beginning with the banking sector, we can see it's up 44 basis points, buoyed by a limit up close in Stanbic, that's 10%, and steady gains in Fidelity and Access Corporation. Insurance 9.74. Insurance extended its rally with broad-based limit moves in ICO, that's 10%, Mansat 9.97, NEM 9.09 Prestige, and you also have Regal Insurance and other insurance stocks that did very well. Away from that, you've got oil and gas down 56 basis points. And what happens with oil and gas is once Owando sneezes, something definitely happens. Away from oil and gas, consumer goods is up 98 basis points. And of course, you can talk about Boa Foods and Champion for contributing to the numbers we're seeing right there. Industrial goods is down 147 basis points, and that was dragged by steep losses in WAPCO and Berger. But that's it for business tonight. I am Perpetua Fasomipita. Tonight continues with Felicity. Bye for now.
Time for sports now. I have my colleague Favor here. Hello, Favor.
Hello, Felicity. We'll go straight to the stories, starting from sad news from football. Tragedy occurred today at the training camp of Nigeria Premier Football League side Shooting Stars Sports Club, as newly appointed assistant coach Akin Olowokere died just weeks after signing a contract with the club until 2027. The tragic incident occurred on Monday morning during a training session at the Dipodina Stadium in Ijebu-Ode, where the team are preparing for the new 2025-26 NPFL season. The former Sunshine Stars of Akure player reportedly collapsed on the pitch and was rushed to the nearby hospital. Medical staff confirmed him dead on arrival. His sudden passing has shocked the Nigerian football community and marks a heartbreaking moment for Shooting Stars Sports Club. Still talking football, Super Eagles B head coach Eric Chell has described Tuesday's Africa Nations Championship Group D match against Sudan as a defining moment for his players. Nigeria, beaten 1-0 by Senegal in their opener, need only 3 points to revive their knockout stage hopes. Charles stressed his squad's readiness, calling the game the most important of their careers. A loss would leave Nigeria's qualification chances hanging by a thread, while a win would put them back in contention ahead of their final group match.
My position, I need to think about positive attitude, about our last game. Like Junior said, we watch and we work on our mistake. And actually, I just during a competition you have one game. You have one game, and this game will decide what happens after.
And out to European football, Villarreal's La Liga match against Barcelona in December could become the first regular season European League fixture to be played abroad after the Spanish Football Federation approved plans to host the game in the United States. The RFF will now seek permission from FIFA and UEFA to move the game to the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, which is scheduled to host 7 matches at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The game is currently scheduled to be played at Villarreal's Estadio de la Ceramica on 21st of December. Other one-off matches, such as the Italian Super Cup and Spanish Super Cup, have been held abroad in recent years. And now to basketball. Captain of Nigeria's women's basketball team, Amy Okonkwo, believes the Tigers can achieve even greater success following their recent 5th consecutive women's AfroBasket triumph, Nigeria's 7th overall title. Speaking earlier today on News Central's sports show In the Game, Okonkwo praised the team's self-belief and resilience, stating that their hunger for victory remains as strong as ever.
This is the only thing that we can do. I think that the D Tigers serve as more than just a basketball team. And there's so many barriers still for us to break. And I'm thankful to be in the position to help and be part of it, because it's so much bigger than me. And to have the small, I feel like my role is small because there's so much more. And I am thankful. I can't say it enough. I'm thankful. I feel extremely blessed to just be able to be with these women, to be coached.
And that wraps it up on Sports Update. And Favor Itwa tonight continues with Felicity.
Sam Dandy's got the dandiest entertainment stories for us tonight.
I got to be honest, I'm excited. Over the weekend, lots of weddings happened, and we're going to talk about it. Some of our faves, if you're an OBO fan, then of course. The weekend was packed with celebrity weddings, and the internet was here for all of it. Nigerian musician Mr. Easy tied the knot with actress, fashion entrepreneur, and daughter to one of Africa's business moguls, Tini Otedola, in a stunning Iceland ceremony that oozed with elegance and romance. Also in Kano State, Kannywood star Rahama Sadao opted for a more intimate affair, exchanging vows in a private Islamic ceremony surrounded by close family and friends. Now, just to think that was over, it's not. Over in Miami, Davido celebrated his love and commitment with longtime partner Chioma Rowland in a lavish wedding that drew some of Nigeria's most prominent names. I'm talking Governor Ademola Adeleke, business mogul like Aliko Dangote, and former Senate President Bukola Saraki. Now, the glamorous event marked the latest chapter in Davido and Chioma's decade-long romance, from their university days at Babcock to building a beautiful family that we've all seen, on the internet. So it was quite beautiful to behold. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I'm a huge Davido fan, and we've seen this relationship, honestly, in the media. So it was beautiful to watch, and I'm happy. Assurance real.
Love is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And let's move from that one. The Nigerian Official Selection Committee, NOSC, has officially opened submissions for Nigeria's entry into the International Features Film category of the 2026 Oscars. Now, the call is open to films that have been released in Nigeria between November the 1st, 2024 and September 30, 2025, and meet, of course, eligibility criteria for the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. Now, according to statements by the committee, to be eligible, the films must feature films produced outside the United States with at least 50% of dialogue in a language other than English. Nigerian Pidgin English is acceptable for those wondering. Films must also include accurate English subtitles and meet the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences approval. The selection film will represent Nigeria, if you're selected, at the Oscars on March the 15th, 2026, live in Los Angeles. Now, the committee is the sole body responsible to select, Nigeria's official entry, and we're excited to see how this one pans out, because up until, now, we haven't been officially nominated. So we hope that we can get a good film submitted and hopefully win our first Oscars. Well, that's the biggest stories, or those are the biggest stories in entertainment. I am Sam Dandy. This is bye for now.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, a quick reminder of our top stories. EFCC arrests former Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal over alleged unauthorized cash withdrawals. Fresh attack in Yelwata community in Benue State leaves 3 people dead and others injured. We also told you that there's global outrage growing as funeral holds for 5 Al Jazeera journalists killed by Israel in targeted attack on Gaza. Do send us your eyewitness report. The number to do so is showing now on your screen. You can follow us on all our social media handles as well at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks as always for watching. Have a good night.